Welcome to an essay by Blueprint to Escape. And right off the bat, I want to set the stage for you because today is today's a bit special.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I mean, if you are tuning in today expecting us to dissect specific ETFs or debate the merits of various financial instruments, we're not doing that.
Not at all.
We're not analyzing shifting investing sectors or looking into complex geodiversifications or doing some big dramatic portfolio reveal. We are going to pivot completely away from all of that today.
Right. We are taking a much more foundational path with this collection of ideas.
We are. Today is entirely about helping you with mindset. It's about your approach and the philosophy of investing in life at the same time.
Because the two really are linked.
They absolutely are. We operate on a core belief here, which is that what is generally true for investing is also generally true for life, wealth, and health in general, in our opinion only.
And before we get too deep into the actual mechanics of this, I do need to clearly state our mandatory disclaimer.
Oh, right. Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing in this audio is personal financial investment wealth or retirement advice or recommendations.
Wait.
It is simply a collection of ideas that work for us and that we've structured into this content for you to consider.
Perfect. So let us get into the overview and the mission for today.
Let's do it.
We are exploring a fascinating case study and a collection of ideas focused on something the author calls the Stoic architecture of financial autonomy.
Which I know sounds incredibly grand.
It really does sound grand.
Why?
But when you actually look at the mechanics of what is being proposed here, it's a very grounded, very rigorous framework.
It is. And just as a brief roadmap for where we're taking you today, our goal is to understand how combining ancient Stoic psychological discipline with a strict data-driven mathematical framework can help you secure permanent freedom.
Permanent freedom over temporary luxury.
Precisely. We are looking at a bridge between internal philosophy and external mathematics.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the core problem identified in this essay.
The
Right. It is a psychological pitfall known as the middle-class trap. You might also know it by its more academic name, the hedonic treadmill, or simply lifestyle inflation.
Which is something I think everyone deals with to some extent.
Oh, absolutely. Now, for an audience that already understands the basics of personal finance, we all know what lifestyle creep is.
Sure.
But this essay frames it not just as a casual mistake, but as an active, relentless psychological temptation to upgrade your living standards the exact second your income grows.
It frames it as an almost invisible force, honestly.
Yeah.
And it is called the middle class trap specifically because it targets the demographic that earns enough to comfortably access the financing of luxury.
Right. They can get the loans, they can get the credit.
Exactly, but they don't have enough to actually buy permanent autonomy without incredible discipline.
Right. It isn't just about the cliche of getting a promotion and buying a fancier car.
No, it's much deeper than that.
We're talking about the subtle, insidious ways your desires scale up to completely consume your yield. Like, you have a great quarter, your business brings in extra revenue, or your portfolio throws off a massive dividend, and suddenly the 4-star hotel you usually book feels entirely inadequate.
You feel like you've outgrown it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You rationalize the 5-star resort because you quote-unquote earned it. You rationalize the luxury vehicle lease because the monthly payment fits comfortably within your new cash flow.
And by doing that, you are actively increasing the burn rate of your own life.
Yes.
You are running faster and faster on the treadmill, generating more and more capital, but your actual accumulation of structural wealth remains totally stagnant.
To just sit there.
And it remains stagnant because your desires are scaling perfectly alongside your balance sheet.
That is the crucial point right there. You are burning more mental and physical calories just to stay in the exact same place on the board.
Exactly.
And the essay highlights the supreme danger of this trap. When you succumb to this temptation, you are actively choosing to prioritize temporary luxury over permanent autonomy.
Which is a terrible trade-off.
It is. You are mathematically destroying the compounding engine of your own freedom just to signal status in the present moment.
What's fascinating here is the philosophical countermeasure that this collection of ideas introduces to combat that very human impulse.
The Stoic side of things.
Right. It prescribes Stoic discipline. Now, when people hear Stoicism in a financial context, they often roll their eyes.
Oh, yeah. They picture someone rigidly denying themselves all joy.
Just gritting their teeth through a miserable, hyper-frugal existence where you never go out to eat and you're reusing your tea bags.
Right. Living off rice and beans forever.
Exactly. But that is not what this essay is talking about at all. The primary goal of Stoicism in this specific context requires a massive mindset shift.
Yeah, okay.
It is about learning to decouple your net worth from your self-worth.
Decouple your net worth from your self-worth.
Mm.
I really want to pause on that point because that sounds great in a philosophy seminar.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, that is a remarkably heavy lift.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult.
How does this blueprint suggest we actually do that when literally everything in modern society is designed to measure our success by our zip code, the label on our clothes, and the car in our driveway?
It is a heavy lift, and it is exactly why the essay calls it a discipline. Think about why the middle-class trap is so effective in the first place.
Because it preys on our ego.
Exactly. We use our lifestyle as a signaling mechanism. We use it to tell the world and subconsciously to tell ourselves that we are valuable.
Right.
Our self-worth becomes entirely entangled with the external metrics of our material wealth. The Stoic discipline involves shifting your internal locus of control.
Okay.
You systematically separate your personal internal value as a human being from your external material wealth.
So it isn't about not having nice things. It is about not needing those nice things to validate your existence.
Precisely. If your car doesn't define your value, you don't feel the psychological friction or the braining need to upgrade it simply because your cash flow allows for it.
That makes a lot of sense.
You stop viewing wealth as a tool to acquire fleeting luxury to impress others. Instead, you start viewing it as a tool for autonomy.
A tool for autonomy.
Yes, it becomes a protective shield around your time, your energy, and your choices.
It changes money from being a master that demands you spend it to maintain a certain image to a servant that quietly builds a fortress around your freedom.
Beautifully put.
But let me push back a little here. Telling someone to just use Stoic discipline to decouple their ego from their money sounds dangerously close to the generic just stop buying avocado toast advice that we see absolutely everywhere.
I can see how it sounds like that, yeah.
Does this case study offer a mechanism to actually enforce this, or is it just relying on pure willpower?
That is the exact pivot the essay makes, and it is why this framework is called an architecture.
Okay.
The text is very explicit that psychology alone, pure willpower, is not enough. Willpower depletes.
It always does.
If you just rely on stoicism, eventually you will have a bad day, your ego will take a hit, and you will go buy something expensive to feel better. You have to pair that internal philosophy with a rigorous external system.
And let's be honest, there is so much surface-level financial advice out there that treats the symptoms without providing a structural cure.
All the time.
It is always just save more money or hustle to earn more. But earning more just speeds up the treadmill if the framework isn't in place.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This collection of ideas reveals a sophisticated, data-driven alternative. It argues that achieving actual permanent autonomy isn't just about top-line revenue.
No, it's not.
It is entirely about what you mathematically do with the capital once it enters your ecosystem.
This is where the mathematical framework of the architecture comes into play. The essay demands that you mathematically prioritize high-yield reinvestment.
High-yield reinvestment.
Yes, this is not about letting cash sit idle in a low-yield savings account so you can feel secure. The specific non-negotiable action required by this system is that you must systematically funnel your monthly distributions back into compounding assets.
Systematically funneling distributions. Let's really dig into what that means for you, the listener.
Yeah, let's break that down.
It means taking the dividends, the interest payments, the real estate yields, the business distributions, whatever capital your assets generate.
Any kind of yield.
Right. And instead of treating that as permission to inflate your lifestyle, you immediately push it right back into the machine to buy more income-producing assets.
It requires an almost robotic level of execution.
It really does.
Now, to clarify a critical point from the text, this case study doesn't actually provide a specific mathematical formula for this.
Which is interesting.
It is. It doesn't give you a proprietary equation, a specific asset allocation model, or the exact step-by-step arithmetic to calculate your personal numbers.
Right.
But what it emphatically does provide is the structural rule, and that rule is relentless reinvestment.
I find that fascinating. By not giving a specific formula, The essay forces you to focus on the behavior rather than obsessing over whether 4% yield is better than a 4.2% yield.
Exactly. You focus on the habit, not the minutia.
It is the engine of the whole philosophy. You are building a closed-loop system where the output feeds directly back into the input, making the machine larger, more resilient, and more powerful every single month.
Yes.
And the friction there is immense, right? The temptation to take a massive quarterly distribution and blow it on a luxury vacation while your peers are doing the exact same thing is huge.
That is exactly where the Stoic discipline we discussed earlier acts as the fail-safe.
I see.
The philosophy protects the math. You don't take the distribution and spend it on the vacation because your self-worth isn't tied to the vacation photos you post online.
Right.
And that brings us to the core synthesis of this entire collection of ideas. The essay states that your ultimate goal, the singular metric that matters in this architecture, is to ensure your passive income floor rises faster than your desires.
Your passive income floor rises faster than your desires. I want to highlight that phrase because it's the linchpin of the whole concept.
It really is.
It isn't about a net worth target. It isn't about hitting $3 million or $5 million. It is entirely about the relationship between your floor and your desires.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how the psychology and the mathematics lock together perfectly to create this effect.
Yeah, walk us through that.
Well, the floor is the baseline amount of cash flow your compounding assets generate for you automatically without your active labor.
Right, and the Stoic discipline, decoupling your self-worth from your net worth, is what artificially caps the ceiling of your desire.
Yes, exactly.
It keeps that hedonic treadmill powered down. Your desires stay relatively flat or at least highly controlled because you aren't seeking external validation through constant upgrades.
Meanwhile, the mathematical framework, the relentless funneling of distributions into compounding assets, guarantees that your wealth is aggressively growing.
You are constantly building the floor up.
Right. So because your desires are disciplined by philosophy and your reinvestment is mathematically rigorous, your passive income floor is logically guaranteed to eventually overtake and outpace the temptation to inflate your lifestyle. Yeah.
It is essentially a race between two variables. But you have intentionally handicapped your desires using Stoic philosophy while simultaneously giving performance-enhancing compounding interest to your passive income.
That's a great way to put it. The math wins every time, but only as long as the psychology holds the line.
That tension is the essence of the middle-class trap. Most people let both variables run wild. Their income floor rises slightly, but their desires sprint ahead.
Constantly outpacing their wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This architecture forces the floor to sprint while the desires are told to stand still.
Yes.
So what does this all mean in practical terms? Why go through all of this? Why undertake this rigorous psychological discipline, fighting your own ego, and commit to this strict mathematical reinvestment where you delay gratification for years?
It's a fair question.
We aren't just building wealth for the sake of looking at a high score on a brokerage statement. What is the actual prize being offered here?
The ultimate prize outlined in this case study is securing a nomadic or early retirement lifestyle. It is about buying back your time in totality.
Let's expand on that because early retirement can mean a lot of things. It brings the entire conversation directly back to the ultimate goal of the listener.
Absolutely.
If your objective is to step away from the traditional 9-to-5 grind decades earlier than society expects you to, or to design a nomadic existence where you have total geographical and temporal freedom, this architecture is positioned as the fundamental blueprint to actually achieve that without panic.
And it achieves this state through a concept the essay refers to as compounding autonomy.
Compounding autonomy.
This is a crucial distinction. When you systematically build this long-term high-yield portfolio through relentless reinvestment, you are constructing an asset base that cannot be easily drained by a sudden spike in emotional spending. Because you have conquered the hedonic treadmill internally, you aren't secretly harboring a latent desire to suddenly buy a yacht or a massive estate the moment you stop working. Your lifestyle costs are deeply intentional and strictly controlled.
Which means the math required to sustain your life is actually knowable and achievable.
Exactly.
And because those compounding assets are constantly generating distributions that build that ever-growing passive income floor, you achieve a state of permanent financial autonomy.
Permanent is the key word that separates this from standard financial advice.
It really is.
It isn't a temporary sabbatical.
Hmm.
It isn't taking a gap year to travel the world and then frantically scrambling to update your resume and find a job when the savings account dwindles.
That sounds incredibly stressful.
It is. The passive income floor acts as a structural foundation. It
Mhm.
replaces the need for an active salary indefinitely. This permanent autonomy is the fundamental non-negotiable requirement that sustains the true freedom needed for early retirement or nomadic living.
Without that permanent floor, you are always just a few bad months or one unexpected market downturn away from having to jump right back onto the treadmill.
You're still trapped.
You might have the illusion of freedom because you have a large cash reserve,
Hmm.
but you are still fundamentally tethered to the anxiety of a depleting asset.
Exactly. A depleting asset creates psychological stress, which is the exact opposite of autonomy.
Right.
But with this Stoic architecture in place, the income floor supports your controlled desires regardless of where you are in the world, what the broader economy is doing, or what you choose to dedicate your Tuesday afternoon to. You have genuinely escaped the cycle.
You have fully transitioned from trading your time for capital to having your capital endlessly work to protect your time.
Yes.
It is a brilliant synchronization. So looking at the entire scope of this collection of ideas, it really boils down to managing a two-front war.
It does. On the internal front, you have to fight your own ego and societal conditioning with Stoic philosophy, specifically decoupling your self-worth from your net worth so you don't crave temporary status signaling luxury.
And on the external front, you are fighting the stagnation of your wealth with strict mathematical rigor, systematically funneling all your distributions back into compounding assets to build that floor.
It is the only way to ensure your passive income floor inevitably rises faster than your desires. It is not an easy path, but it is a clear one for anyone looking to secure that permanent financial autonomy and the freedom to pursue a nomadic or early retirement lifestyle.
It is a profound alignment of internal restraint and external compounding.
It absolutely is. And to you, our listener, if this framework challenges how you are currently approaching your own portfolio and your own lifestyle, we want to hear about it. Please post comments or questions and be sure to subscribe for more content about financial independence, passive income, early retirement, and nomadic life design.
This raises an important question, though, as we leave you to think about this essay.
What's that?
We've talked extensively today about the hedonic treadmill, strictly in the context of your material lifestyle and your finances.
Right.
But if the core of this Stoic architecture is decoupling your self-worth from external metrics to achieve true permanent autonomy, what non-financial assets in your life, like social media validation, your career title, or even your own hyperfixation on daily productivity, might be trapped on a hedonic treadmill of their own, constantly requiring bigger upgrades just to keep you feeling satisfied?